Hola, hola, amiga. Welcome back to the Viva la Mami podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Cuevas. And before we dive into today's episode, I need to give you a little context about what's going on in my world right now. So, at the time of this recording, we are moving, yes, again, to a new casa in León, Guanajuato. So after 10 months of living here in Mexico, my husband and I made the decision to break our lease early and find a new home. And this time it's one that actually fits where we are at as a family right now. And I am not going to sugarcoat it. We are in the middle of full on packing chaos, and boxes are everywhere. The kids have been kind of chaotic, and I'm just trying to keep it all together. So today I'm bringing you a rerun episode, and I promise it's not just a filler. This episode is actually the perfect time for me to reshare it because I am going to share with you next week about what made us make another move once again. And so on next week's episode, I'm going to share everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly about why we decided to walk away from our current place and what we're looking for in our next home. It's going to be a really honest conversation, and I can't wait to have you listen. But first, I want you to hear this episode because it's where our housing story in Mexico begins. Alex and I talk about how we found the house and the legal process. And actually, in my Instagram stories, I've been receiving a lot of questions about what is a póliza jurídica. So this week's episode explains what it is and basically to provide you some kind of context about finding housing in Mexico, specifically if you are interested in renting. So knowing where we started makes next week's conversation so much more meaningful. I hope you can tune in and consider this your homework before next week's episode drops. All right, well, here we go. Welcome to the Viva la Mami podcast. I am your host, Jessica Cuevas. I am a mother of two on a mission to help redefine the meaning of motherhood as a modern Latina mom. Motherhood can be a complex journey, interwoven in two identities that often make us feel ni de aquí ni de allá. Viva la Mami is committed to providing you with knowledge, tools, and support to navigate the challenges and triumphs of motherhood as Latina moms. On the show, we'll be discussing culturally relevant topics that will help inform and empower you in whichever season you are in on your motherhood journey. We'll be joined by Latina moms, experts and professionals who can offer advice, practical tips, relatable stories, and honest conversations. So bring your cafecito as I invite you to be a part of this space as we create comunidad about the exciting and challenging parts of being a mommy. Ahora, vámonos. Hola, hola. Welcome to another episode of the Viva la Mami podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Cuevas, and this is one of the Living in Mexico series episodes. As you probably know, we are living here in Mexico, and today I have my husband here, Alex, with me. And in fact, you're going to keep listening to him, and he's going to join us throughout these upcoming Living in Mexico episodes, just because he is also part of this process. It's not just me. As a couple, as a married couple, we both worked on this together. So that way we made this possible in our move to Mexico. And these upcoming episodes are all based on questions that I've been asked on Instagram, on other forms of media, even through email. And so because I know that you have all of these dire questions, I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend these upcoming weeks answering your questions and kind of give you a better idea of what it's like living in Mexico. So if you haven't yet followed me on Instagram, I am there. I'm also on TikTok, not so much as Instagram. But also, if you are curious to watch this episode, you can also find us on YouTube, which is at Viva la Mami. And you can see our background. Right now, we are in our patio in our house here in León, Guanajuato. So this episode is specific to housing. A lot of people have asked us, like, how did you find this house? How do you even rent a house in Mexico? And a lot of times people go to Mexico to just visit, whether if it's vacation or if it's visiting family. And so there are a lot of nuances and a lot of like specific ways of finding and getting housing here in Mexico. And we're just going to share kind of like what our experience was and how it's going. And I can't answer specifically about buying property or about transferring assets like many families do. So we're only going to speak about how to find a rental, especially a long-term rental, than like an Airbnb or something that, you know, you can just stay at abuelita's house. So one of the questions that we have been asked is, how did you decide to find a place to live? And so, Alex, I don't know if you want to answer this for us.
I'm sure Justice already talked about this in the past, right? But we came here when Mateo was about a few months old.
Yeah, he was
right?
like 8 months old.
And I had about 4 weeks of paternity leave. So then when we came here to León in the city, we just fell in love with it, right? And then I can't remember if it was me or you, the one that just said, hey, why don't we just move here? And
hypothetically, and then it just happened.
She didn't think I was serious because before I was like, oh yeah, I'll never move out of the States. But hey, here we are, right? Yeah, we came here on somewhat of vacation, and then somehow, some way, we just decided to stay here.
Yeah, which is wild, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I think for us, we didn't know the city until we literally decided to just walk around in las colonias to visit, you know, just like the mall and everything. And so it all happened to feel like right. It all happened to feel like this could be potentially a city where we would live at. And initially, we thought about moving to Mexico City. But we realized that that is a huge city, especially when raising 2 little kids. I feel like it's just chaotic enough. And we come from a city. I mean, we were both born and raised in Chicago, so we know what it's like to live in a big metropolitan city as a family. But Mexico City felt like the New York. Like,
it is a completely different monster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, don't get us wrong. It's beautiful, right? There's so many things to do. But you got to take into consideration there's 20 million people living there, right? So once we thought about it, we looked at some pictures. When we were there, we were just like, yeah, there's no way. There's no way we can do this.
Yeah. It felt like New York. And
Yeah.
I love New York City. I love just like everything about it, but not to live there. It's more so to visit. We can always explore more and learn more. And in fact, we're going to Mexico City to see Bad Bunny. But, and so that's just another way, an excuse to keep visiting Mexico City, because it's only like a 4-hour drive if you take the bus. But anyway, so we thought that León was going to be well enough for us to not just immerse ourselves here in Mexico, where our family is from, but it also gave us the comfortability of like Chicago. I feel like Chicago is big enough, has a lot of resources. Obviously, it's a big city in the United States. And we thought that León was pretty comparable in terms of resources, in terms of different types of foods, different centros comerciales, you know, all of these things. It really helped us inform our decision to move here. Now, in terms of finding where in León, I think we factored in based on the availability, probably. And the location, I would say. School was something that we definitely wanted to base our decision, but unfortunately that didn't work out because I guess we should have done it the other way. We should have probably have looked at housing first and then school, but we did the other way around. We looked at the school first and then housing, and we couldn't find a house for rent near the kids' school. Now, where the kids are, they're in the central part of the city, like near the city center in León. And we're living in the north side of León. So it's called La Zona Norte, which is where La Plaza Mayor is. For those of you who have ever been to León, it's pretty much where the second phase of the city's expansion grew. Now it's expanding more south. So León is a big city. It first started out in the city center and then expanded to the north and then the south. And we are in the northern part of it. And this is what drew us really, because everything is at our disposal. I mean, literally behind us is a parking lot to Sam's Club.
The Walmart too.
There's a Walmart, there's a Home Depot, just like your typical American stores. Pero también there's like a lot of cute like boutiques.
Coffee
shops. A lot of
little restaurants
too. Yeah, so there's a lot of options here, and that's what really drew us. And the way that we found this house was through a Facebook post that was shared to me by one of my friends. So I have a really good friend that we've kept in touch for over a decade now. Like, we weren't even moms, we weren't married, estábamos solteras and everything. And I happen to have known her from like a long time ago that I visited my family here in Mexico, and we have kept in touch. And so knowing that we were moving to León, she was like the first person, one of the first few people that I reached out to, because she's also from León. She was born and raised here, so she knows how it is. And so through a Facebook group post of this property, she shared it with me, and I was like, hey, we have to check it out. And in the spring, I came here with the kids, and you did too, right? Well, there were two. Yes, there were two phases of our spring trip.
Yeah,
travels.
The first time we came, this one we checked out like 20 schools.
Yeah, we visited a bunch of schools.
The second one was you came by yourself, right?
Yeah, to enroll the
schools.
No.
Oh no.
No, this was when we enrolled the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the schools, and that time, that was when I reached out to the representative of the property owners, and I was like, hey, can we tour the house? And he was like, sure. So I got to see it. I got to see it with my parents and the kids, and I felt really good about it. And I told Alex, I was like, hey, this is a really good property, because even though it's an older property, it is in a residential area. So it's in a fraccionamiento. For those of you who haven't heard of what a fraccionamiento is, it's essentially like a private residence.
Yeah, essentially it's a gated community.
Yeah, it's a gated community. I hate saying that because you know what we think of gated communities. But yes, you do have to have access if you don't live here to get through these doors. Everyone here is pretty chill, no problems. Like, I haven't heard of any drama or anything. So it's a really neat community. Traditionally now, I think the newer fraccionamientos, they often have like a pool and like a activity, like community center of some sort. This one just has properties and a little
super
mini
old school
chapel.
It's old school, but it's very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people running in the mornings. There's people walking their dogs in the middle of the night. So, yeah, it's super quiet.
It's pretty quiet. And that's something that I fell in love with, to be honest, because I knew that my kids were going to be safe. I knew that I can go outside anytime and not worry about, like, cars passing through. Because where the kids go to school, that's where the houses are kind of, like, in the public, basically. And they're in busy streets and everything. And so I felt like going into a community like this would be more fitting for our family and our active kids and making sure that they're okay. So that's how I toured it in the spring. And first of all, everyone uses WhatsApp. And for me, I never really use WhatsApp, even though my grandpa uses it. I
still don't use it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I had to get used to, responding back to WhatsApp. And that has been a form of communication, really, from anyone here. And so I knew that I had to be proactive in checking my phone and my messages, because I low-key had set up the WhatsApp notifications off, because I was like, I never receive anything through that. But I guess I had to change those settings, especially when we knew we were going to live here. And so that was the way that I was in communication with. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the realtor, because I don't think he is.
No, and here in Mexico, at least in León specifically, you don't have to have a license to show rental properties, right? To sell properties, yes, you do, but not to show them. So that's one thing. If you are interested in moving or locating here or anywhere in Mexico, make sure that it's a reputable person, a trustworthy person.
Yeah. And I would say this guy was pretty professional. He was on top of things and everything. But I wish we would have known that there are other ways. Like the way that we found this house out, like I said, it was through this Facebook group post. It wasn't through an inmobiliario. So an inmobiliario is like a real estate agency, and it wasn't listed through that. And there are inmobiliarios to either buy a house or to rent a house. And that's when you can find a reputable, licensed realtor. Yeah. And unfortunately, this property wasn't tied in with that. Now, the property alone has been fine, I would say, but there have been a lot of issues, which we'll kind of talk about that. But it's in terms of actually securing this house, how would you rate that experience?
On a scale from 1 to 10, securing this property, about an 8. Difficulty-wise, because there was a lot of legal stuff that we had to do, right? Like we had to get your grandfather, right? And essentially it was like collateral, right? He had to put his property as collateral so that we can rent this one. Right? So it's not just like, oh, here are the keys, give me the money. No, we had to go to a lawyer, sign a bunch of documents. And I was very surprised, honestly. I don't even think you have to do that back in the States to have somebody as collateral.
No, because we are property owners ourselves, and we have 3 different tenants in those 3 units that we own that building. And it was all up to us, to have the contract and everything. Now, granted, we are in the city of Chicago, so Chicago is very hard on landlords, and yes, more renter friendly than anything. And so in order for us to cover our bases, we wanted to make sure to have a contract and everything kind of in order. Pero aquí it's legalized. You had to have an attorney to sign the contract. And so this is what it's called, a póliza jurídica, which essentially it legitimizes the rental and it protects both parties. So in a way, I was grateful that that was one of the rules to rent this property, is to have this póliza signed. But it did come with a couple bureaucratic steps, right, where it wasn't just us that we were able to rent this place. It had to get through with my grandpa. And we were lucky because my parents, even though my dad has land and they're in the process of building their house, todavía no tienen what it's called las escrituras. And so esas escrituras is like a legal document that basically legitimizes your property, your tierra. And so luckily my grandparents are near us, and we were able to bring him over and have him sign for us, essentially, because that was the only way that we were able to get this property. In terms of what it involved with any deposit or costs, we did have to pay the first month's rent as a deposit, and that was non-refundable, which is pretty common, just like anywhere else. So we actually secured this place months in advance. So when we toured the property and everything, it was May or June? That was when we paid that 1 month's deposit. That way it secures the property. So I guess they were able to do that, and that was great. And then we then had to pay, the first rent and so forth. And in terms of the cost specifically, I would say for us, especially coming from the United States and coming from Chicago, where housing is ridiculous, it is cheaper
Very
for
affordable.
us. It's very affordable. So we pay 20,000 pesos, and it is a furnished home. So usually furnished houses or furnished apartments in Mexico are going to be a little bit more because that includes like
all
what
the
you
furniture, the tables, dishware,
everything.
Yeah,
So
everything.
that was one of the things that we were looking for specifically, that we wanted to make sure that in order for us to acclimate ourselves here and not bring all our stuff, because we still don't know if we're going to live here forever, we thought that it would be best to rent a furnished property. So for Mexico and for people who are from Mexico, this house is a lot more expensive, I would say, and especially in a city like León, where it isn't Mexico City or Guadalajara, or Monterrey. Like, it is a little bit more expensive than your traditional kind of or typical like rental costs. Aquí me dijeron que maybe maximum for a furnished home, I think you're pushing it like 17,000 pesos. So we're paying 3,000 pesos more than your kind of like average type of house that is furnished. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's not like they scammed us or whatever. Like, the 20,000 pesos was what it was in the original posting without them even knowing that we were American.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you take into consideration, I mean, we are walking distance from one of the biggest malls in León. I mean, it is a gated community. There's so many things to do around in this area, but again, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I would say that this house has more space. I think it's more spacious than your traditional house now in León, just because it is getting oversaturated. I think because, it's getting a little overpopulated here in León because it's a booming city. And so being that this residential area is más like, it's like, 30, 40 years old, it is a lot more spacious. And that's what I like. I mean, I like that we have a big patio. I like that it's got 3 rooms, 2.5 baths, a full dining area, living room, a full kitchen. And so I think that we're paying pretty decent, I think. Yeah.
Decent. And I just wanted to add another quick point too, kind of taking it back to just kind of like comparing it if we would have brought our stuff here as opposed to just renting a furnished place. We kind of looked into it, how much it would cost us to bring all of our stuff here via trucks, right? How much was it? Well, like $20,000, one quote to bring all of our stuff here.
Yeah, it's about $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah, so if you factor that in, I mean, we would have been spending a lot more money to bring all of our stuff here to rent something that would have been like, 15,000 pesos? So it kind of like balances out. And if not, the way we did it kind of saved us a lot more money than if we would have brought our stuff here.
Yeah, and trying to figure out, okay, is your move to Mexico going to be long-term or is it going to be short-term? And for us, we do have a storage back in the United States where it has, I would say, the more precious thing.
Well,
I don't even know what
we have different definitions as to what that means. I mean, if it was for me, I would have gotten rid of everything in there, but whatever.
I know. And it's hard. It's hard to figure out, okay, are we starting new? Are we restarting our lives back? Like, I honestly don't know, and I don't want to stress out.
Yeah.
But I think, though, for now, I think it's worked out that we got a furnished home.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been working out well. And we've been able to kind of personalize it. I definitely told the landlord that for the kids' room, I definitely wanted everything out, because that room had like a cama matrimonial, which is like a full-size bed. And I was like, no, my kids are not going to share the same bed because they can push each other.
Could you imagine all the screaming and crying?
I don't even want to imagine. So what we decided to do was buy them their furniture. So we got them their 2 little beds, y también su estate, which is like a little bookshelf. And it's been really cute, like seeing that. And they love it. They love their room, even though sometimes they come in the middle of the night and sleep with us, but whatever.
Still. Still, it's been over years that they've been doing that, but yeah,
that's how they are.
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's fine. Now that we live in a rental, something that we know that in the póliza jurídica is that this rental is for a year. And so within this year, it's literally stated that it is our responsibility if things break down or if, I don't know, if we need like a new light bulb. So that's one of the things that is kind of interesting in Mexico compared to the US, especially in Chicago, is that the tenant here doesn't have as equal rights as in Chicago. So it's all up to us. Even though we are renting, it's still our responsibility if, I don't know, if
Yeah, I mean, there's
something minor.
It's different, but in a lot of ways it's similar, right? Because just like back in Chicago to here, like the landlord is responsible for anything that's
major
repair, right? And just like Chicago too, and like even like for something small, if you read it in the contract that the renter is responsible for such and such a certain amount, somewhat similar here. So
yeah. And it all depends who you get. So let's be honest, Alex, about the landlords here. Overall, I think that they are responsive, that they listen, that they're willing to have a conversation. But I feel like they are a little difficult in terms of trying to solve the issue.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to solve any specific issues.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, like who wants to drop a lot of money on a property, right? I mean, but again, like my argument in this situation is that if they want to keep this place long term,
they have to invest.
They have to invest, right? But again, the slumlords here, right? Which they are. Let's be honest. I mean,
not fully, because I think that, again, they respond, they communicate.
But it's almost like slapping a Band-Aid over a huge wound,
eso sí.
Right? Because, like, again, like the one example, and we can move on to something else, right? There's a little room out here que le llaman el cuarto de servicio, right? Where it's back in the day, like if you had a nanny, they have their own personal spot here. Long story short, it's been flooded, right? And it's been going on for who knows how long, right? But we told them, they came. They had a quote from actual professional, what do you call it? Albañil, which is a bricklayer, right? I'm assuming that they didn't like the quote, so they got this one dude that basically does everything, right?
The maintenance.
The mantenimiento. He's a good dude, right? But let's just say that he didn't fix it the way it's supposed to be fixed. There's still floods up there. But they don't.
Yeah, and the thing is that el cuarto de servicio, even though we don't utilize it, I mean, it's nowhere near to being living. You know, you can't.
It's just a storage area.
We use it for storage, so that's where we have our maletas, the container boxes that we brought our stuff with in the car. Like, so we do use that space for storage, but that's, even though, yeah, it's not livable, I still utilize it what's under that cuarto de servicio. So essentially the cuarto de servicio is like on a second level, and what's under el cuarto de servicio is the laundry room. And that's where I do laundry. And even though I don't do laundry every day, or I'm not there 24/7, I feel afraid that ceiling is gonna fall on top of me because of
it has deteriorated.
It's deteriorating because of the flooding. And I've been telling the landlord, like, hey, this is an issue because I feel like it's literally gonna fall on top of me. And so she's not as responsive as we thought she would, considering that these two are professionals. They pride themselves, when I first met them, that they own 4 properties. And so I just wonder how they treat the other tenants. And I also wonder, like, I don't want to judge, but I feel like they only want our money.
Of course.
And of course, like, you know, that's how we feel when we receive rent, right? We want our money to Not just pay for the mortgage that we own our property, but it's also for any of the source of income that we're getting from. But it's also like, okay, if you want your tenants to stay long term, you also have to think about that investment. So I don't think they're thinking about this ROI, right? Return on investment on investing on their property so that these tenants can stay long term. And so we know that at least in this property, even though I love it here. I mean, I never got bad juju vibes. Like I remember when I told when we moved in, I was like, oh, I'm going to put Palo Santo and Copal. Well, I haven't even been doing that because I feel good energy here.
I'm glad you didn't because I hate that smell.
Well, I love it. But yeah, I feel really good energy and I feel like comfortable. I feel good. Yeah. Pero I think my issue is the landlords are what's keeping me from even considering renewing the contract. I don't think we are. If we decide to stay here.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't like her the first time I met her. I didn't like her. But whatever. Ya estamos aquí, ¿verdad?
Yeah, ya estamos aquí. And I know that, I don't know if we've rushed into like finding housing because there's always housing available. We still see, Alex joined this Facebook group about like renting, properties here in León. But I don't know, I just felt driven into the location. I think location was definitely a big one. And the fact that it was furnished, not all properties are furnished. But yeah, you live and learn. And I think one of the things that I would recommend if you are thinking about moving to Mexico and renting when you first move is to look for an inmobiliario. I think that is more legitimate than finding a Facebook post. Some realtors and inmobiliarios, like real estate agencies, will be posting on social media, but understanding where that link comes from, understanding who this person is who posted it, because I think it's more legitimate if you go through a real estate.
Yeah, for sure. And we can provide a link to that website. Even though we didn't use it, I mean, I'm constantly on there almost every day, right? Just checking out posts, checking out rentals. I mean, it's legit.
Yeah. And this is only for León, but there is a bigger website and it's for the public, for anyone to filter through properties around Mexico. And so you can search based on the city or colonia, and you can filter in if you are looking for a house to buy or a house to rent or an apartment, and you can choose up to how many bedrooms and baths you want. And so this website is pretty comprehensive. Now, the thing is, though, with this website, it can be anyone posting the property. But if, again, you have to dig a little bit deeper and figure out, okay, who posted it? Is it an inmobiliario? Okay, then instead of me going directly through this website, I'm then going to get my research and then go directly to the inmobiliario's like contact. And that way, you know that it was a legitimate posting than just like anyone posting it. If you have any questions about our mudanza to Mexico and housing, let me know. Let us know. You can email me at podcast@vivalamami.com or you can send me a DM at vivalamami. Stay tuned with this month's Living in Mexico series. I will be bringing Alex back because for some reason, y'all love to listen to him.
Wow,
all of the episodes.
I'm so honored.
You didn't know that, right?
No, I
all
didn't.
of the episodes that you've been here on the show have been like the most popular ones. So clearly you want to listen to my man.
What can I say?
But also stay tuned as I announce an upcoming event. This will be a free workshop on how to get dual citizenship. And I will be offering more information about that. But this event will be in early November. It will be kind of like a live event where if you sign up, you will have exclusive access. And for anyone listening after that, well, they're just going to get the basic information. So I will be sharing that more in the show notes or description of this video/episode. And yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions. All right, amiga. Well, hasta la próxima, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Peace out.
Mujer, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to the Viva la Mami podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a rating and review? Hitting that follow button and reviewing my show will allow other mommies like you find this podcast. Your review will also tell me if you enjoy the show, so I would truly appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget, please share this podcast con tus amigas. Also, make sure to follow me at Viva la Mami on Instagram or visit vivalamami.com. Please note the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. Okay, mujer, thank you for joining y nos vemos in the next episode.